not happy, but go ahead.
Why?
I don't feel very good, Laura.
I can tell. Okay. Uh, my name is Laura Layman Mullins. I live in Canton, Mississippi. I'm a member of the Samuel Ridley UDC chapter, and I am interviewing my father, Hal, Halq Layman, Laymon, in Olive Branch, Mississippi, in his home. I am uh, going to ask him the questions now. And the first question is, where and when were you born?
I was born in St. Louis County, Missouri, a suburb called Overland, in January the 22nd, 1926.
Who are who were your parents, and what were their occupations?
My parents were Beulah Layman, my mother, who was a housewife. She never did work out of the house. She was always a housewife. My father was Burton Layman, who was a railroad person, worked for the railroad, Missouri Pacific Railroad, for 44 years.
Who were your siblings, their name and gender?
I had two brothers and one sister. My oldest brother's name was David Layman. The next brother's name was Oliver Layman. My sister's name was Beverly Layman. They were all older than me.
Which, if any, served in the military?
All of us served in the military. My oldest brother David served in the Army Ordnance in England for 4 years. My next brother, younger than he was in the Marine Corps, served aboard the United States Nevada. My sister's husband was in the Navy and served also in the South Pacific.
What were you doing before you entered the service?
I was in high school and in my senior year in 1944. In 1944, you had to be enlisted or drafted when you became 18. I became 18 in January of 1944. If I had not enlisted in either the Air Force or the Navy Air Corps or the Marine Corps, who would give me a 6-month deferment to finish high school, I would be drafted right out of my senior year. So I had to enlist, and I wanted to enlist in the Air Corps so I could learn to fly.
Okay. Why did you choose that branch of the military?
I thought that I thought that the Air Corps would be my best chance to learn to fly. And then when they gave us examinations in the high school where I was going to school, they promised us that if we would join the Air Corps for 6-month deferment, when we went into the Air Corps, we would become pilots. It turned out that none of us became pilots.
What happened when you departed for training camp and your early days of training?
I left Overland, St. Louis, got on a streetcar, went down to South St. Louis where the induction center was. The induction center was where people from all over Missouri, Iowa, Illinois came in there for their first orientation and received their uniforms and badges and so forth. It lasted approximately 3 to 4 days. And it seems to me like it was more like 3 days when we received physical examinations and mental examinations and psychological examinations. They wanted to make sure that everybody was straight, that everybody was in good health. You had to be absolutely perfect health to get in the Army Air Corps or the Navy Air Corps.
Do you recall your instructors? If so, what were they like?
I do not recall any of the instructors except in basic training. I recall how stern they were and how demanding they were and how demanding the military service was of being kept clean and so forth, but I don't remember any names.
Did you receive any specialized training? If so, what?
I did receive specialized training. When they got basic training and gave us more examinations, which were more strict, very, very strict mental examinations. They made all of us gunners, and we were all of us from the St. Louis area that went in at that time were sent off to Las Vegas Army Air Base in Las Vegas, Nevada, to be B-17 gunners. At that school, we would become a gunner in a particular position. You volunteered for the tail gunner, you volunteered for the ball turret gunner, and that's where I ended up. I volunteered for both places and wound up in the tail gunners. That lasted about 5 months, I believe. And at that time, you came out as a corporal. You got your corporals and your wings to fly.
How did you adapt to military life, including the physical regimen, barracks, food, and social life?
I really didn't have any problem. I was only 18 years old, and it was more just an experience and something that I was really looking forward to. As a matter of fact, I begged my father to, when I turned 17, to let me enlist at that time, and he said, "No, you cannot enlist now. You'll have to wait until you have to go before you're going to leave home." So I had to wait until I was 18. I really rather enjoyed the military life, and had I become a pilot, I would have even enjoyed it more.
Where did you serve?
I served in bases in the United States, in Wichita Falls, Texas for basic training, Las Vegas, Nevada for gunnery training, and after gunnery school, we were sent to Lincoln, Nebraska, where the gunners and the pilots and the bombardiers and the navigators and the flying engineers all joined together. That's where we all met one another and became a team, and then our crew, so to speak. Then we were sent to Alexandria, Louisiana for about 4 months of flying together in a squadron, where pilots were learned to fly in squadron and the gunners were learned to work with the team. We actually ate in the mess hall with the officers. We partied with the officers. We lived with the officers virtually, except in barracks. And that's where we learned to fly together and know one another, so that when we went overseas, we would be as a team.
If you served abroad, what are some memories you have of that experience?
I didn't understand that.
If you served abroad, what were some memories you have of that experience?
I served abroad in the Philippines, and I had some memories that were not too pleasant. Some of them more pleasant than others, but most of them were not very pleasant. When we arrived in Manila looked like it had dropped an atom bomb on it. It had been bombed first by the Japanese to take over Manila, then bombed by the 13th Air Force to take back at Manila. Manila was virtually flattened, except for some churches and some tall buildings. All the small buildings had been completely obliterated. It actually looked like an atom bomb had been dropped on it by the Air Corps.
Okay, let's take a break and we'll come back in just a minute.